Hey, welcome to another great week and episode of the Real Deal podcast. I'm your host, as always, Courtney Harding. Glad to be back with an exciting episode. It is NBA season and upcoming, and it's going to be here next Tuesday night. So, the 2025-2026 NBA season. So, this is one of my favorite times of sports and of the year with the NBA kicking off very, very soon. So I said, I got to get some content out. And here it is. And I got a great guest who's been around the NBA and basketball for a long time. So looking forward to bringing him in. He's a returning guest. But before that, hit my music. Let's get it. All right. Once again, welcome to another great episode of the Real Deal podcast. I'm your host, as always, Courtney Hardin. Happy Wednesday evening. It is October 15th, already mid-October. So the months are just flying by. And as I said at the top, NBA season is here. Preseason is already going on. A lot of great games, a lot of good storylines heading into the upcoming 2025-2026 NBA season. And as I said, it's coming up next Tuesday night, and I got to get some content out. So we're starting out with a bang with a great guest. So I'll bring him in shortly, but you can follow the show on all the podcast platforms, whether it is Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're also on YouTube, BS3 Network TV Live, BS3TVLive.com, BS3 Network YouTube channel, BS3 Network Roku channel, wherever you can consume podcasts, where the show is there. iHeartRadio, I think, like I said, everywhere. So you can follow me on all the social media platforms, Twitter, whatever it's called these days. I think X, Twitter. I'm there. Blue Sky, which I'm getting into now, but mainly Instagram. Still on Facebook and TikTok as well. All right, let me bring in my guest. Like I said, we got a lot of news coming up with the NBA season starting 2025-2026. NBA season is here, and I had to bring in a guy that's been around the league for a long time. And yeah, I mean, I love his content. And like I said, he was on ESPN, coordinating producer, overseeing NBA coverage back in 1982 as well. And then also he's the co-founder and chief content officer for Pure Hoops Media and the co-host of the 48 Minutes podcast on Believe Networks. Check that out each and every week. I mean, some of the best NBA content that you will find. Great. They have great guests and, like I said, content as well. So Bruce Bernstein, welcome back to the show for the second time. Really appreciate it.
Hey, Courtney, how's it going? Hope all is well. Great to see you again.
Yeah, great to see you as well. And thank you again for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. And like I said, with the NBA season here, I had to start it off with one of the best in the business. And like I said, you're plugged in as best as everyone else, as anyone else. So glad to get you back on and talk some hoops. So I know you said when hoop season is here, you're ready to discuss on every platform you can. So thank you for coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
Well, you're very kind, and it's always fun to visit with you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate it. And like I said, you've been around the game for a long time, and about 40 years or so plus?
Ooh, I went to my first Celtics game when Bill Russell was still playing.
Wow, yes.
So I know I'm kind of dating myself a little bit there, but all it means is that I've seen a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, you've seen a lot. So that's why I wanted to get you on, because the last time we did, we had a great conversation just talking hoops and for the new season. And you said since Bill Russell days back then until what it is today, and so much has changed since then. So, but let's get right into before we get into the season. How's everything with the show 48 Minutes podcast on Believe Network? As you said, you've been having a lot of great guests and been doing, like you said, 2 a day with teams and previewing the season as well. And yeah, like I said, a lot of great guests. You just had Woj on this past week. So talk about how the show has been going over this upcoming season.
Well, we had this project that we started back in early September called 2 a days, where basically we, instead of doing a 48-minute show each week, we were doing 3 shorter shows, and we were previewing 2 teams in each show. So we did 15 of these shorter shows. So we hit all 30 teams. So if any of your viewers and listeners want to go back and see what we said about your teams, just go right into all the all the podcast platforms that you describe your own shows on. We're all on all the same ones, and doing that. And, we can't get enough of it, Courtney. I mean, the season never ends for us. I mean, it might be the middle of summer. It's like, well, we don't care. There's always something to talk about,
Yeah.
And we love it, and that's why I'm here with you tonight, because I can't get enough. Bring it on, baby.
Yeah, bring on the NBA season, bring on basketball, and like I said, we're both huge fans, and love talking about it and really diving in and dissecting what we think, predictions, and the NBA seasons are always unpredictable, and there's always the favorites, and the some of the top players, but injuries and so many moving parts. I had to catch up because there was so many so many trades, and you had the draft and free agency, and I was like, okay, dang, this player moved here, this player moved there. We just had Russell Westbrook just signed with the Sacramento Kings. So he's now getting into camp, and I know he keeps himself in great shape, so he'll be ready for the upcoming season. But so many moving parts. So just catching up, like it's almost like deep diving for a test, for a final test. You got to deep dive if you're really into this. What we love to do. So let's get started on a couple storylines before we get into some of the teams from the East and the West. What are a couple of your biggest storylines that you're looking forward to in this upcoming season?
Well, there's Oklahoma City. They won it all last year. They dominated the season, and they were the youngest team in the league, and they won 68 games. And then they, went through the playoffs and ended up, beating the Pacers in the finals. That, they're going to be a great storyline. Can they be the first team to repeat, since the Warriors did, like in 2017 and 18? Yeah. There's, Cooper Flagg, ending up in Dallas, number 1 overall pick, after they had that Luka trade that everyone in Dallas hated. It's almost like the basketball gods rewarded the Dallas fans and said, all right, you lost Luka, but we're going to give you this gift of Cooper Flagg. So that's going to be pretty cool. There's just so much. I mean, can the Knicks finally break through after, over a half century between titles? They got a good shot. There's just a ton of stuff, can Joker keep it going? Is Giannis going to stay in Milwaukee? I mean, how about Wemby? I mean, what's going on? There's just so much, Courtney. I mean, we could do 2 hours tonight without even trying.
I know, without even trying. That's just the tip of some of those storylines. And look at the injuries that already, from some of our, some of the star players like Tyrese Halliburton in Indiana. They were the finalists for the East, taking OKC to 7 games. What are they going to look like without Halliburton? And you got Jason Tatum, who looks pretty good coming off of the Achilles injury in the playoffs, and he's talking maybe February coming back. But what are the Celtics going to look like with all the moves they've done? What they made, losing Jrue Holiday and Porzingis as well. They said Tatum coming off an injury, what they're going to look like, and then Damian Lillard also going back to Portland and not going to be playing this season as well, coming off an Achilles injury. So that's another storyline. Jonathan Kuminga, what's that going to look like with Golden State, and that whole drama that was going on with his contract, and are they going to play him, and is he going to mess up their chemistry? I mean, they should play him. He's one of the young legs they need for the Warriors. Right. And then Houston Rockets getting Kevin Durant. That's another storyline. But then they lose Fred VanVleet from an injury as well. So how is that going to work out? They were contenders. Can they stay contenders without VanVleet being the point guard? So with injury. So there's so many. That's just a tip of some of the storylines that we could go on for, like I said, 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and the Durant thing to me is very intriguing. I think, I'd say, watch out for Houston. I'm not saying they're going to win it all, but last year they made enormous strides with a very, very young team. And really, they didn't really have a great crunch time, reliable scorer.
Right.
I mean, they had Jalen Green who could, shoot you into a game and then he could shoot you out of a game.
Yes.
Kevin Durant's not going to shoot you out of a game. He's
No.
going to shoot, because he does everything. I mean, he's a great team defender. He's got, great, I think, leadership skills for a young Houston team. And
Yes.
I mean, he will still get you buckets. I mean, he'll go to the foul line. He'll make his free throws. He doesn't do stupid things out there. I mean, Houston's going to be a lot of fun. Denver, I mean, the Western Conference, Courtney, is just ridiculously stacked. I mean, that's just a meat grinder. I mean, if you can come out of the West, you're pretty much going to win the championship, because I don't know, I'd say the majority of the teams that really could win it all are out there. I mean, look, in the East, I think Cleveland could maybe win it. I think New York could win it. I don't know that anybody else could win it in the East, but in the West, OKC, Denver, Houston. Some people like the Lakers. I personally don't.
Right.
But that's why, I mean, there's so many things. Look, I could watch a game between Sacramento and Utah and enjoy that. Okay, so for me, give me some of these, headliner guys. I mean, and even though I am a Celtics fan and we're headed probably for a down season, it won't dampen my enthusiasm. I mean, you're in Philadelphia, right? So you probably follow the Sixers pretty closely.
Yes.
I think, a lot of people are really down on the Sixers. I'm not one of those people.
It's interesting, because I think I was talking with I had one of my guests on the show. They were asking about the Sixers, and they're at a crossroads, because of, we just don't know, like, how many games are they going to get out of Paul George and Joel Embiid. I think that's the biggest question mark. They have a good team when they're healthy. They are, and then what they said in the East, there's maybe two top teams in the East. Cleveland and the Knicks. I like Detroit. I like Detroit a lot, and I like Orlando as well. Two young teams that I think can make a jump out East, and you just don't know. I think the Sixers are healthy, yes, and they said with the Celtics too as well. We just don't know. And again, you got to put Milwaukee in there too, because of Giannis. He top six at least in the East. But other than that, it's really hard to say what the Sixers are going to do. But they got a really good team. But it's always the health and what type of motivated Joel Embiid are we going to get? If we're going to get that one that, and he said he distanced himself from the team, and when things got leaked out with the meetings and things like that, his history, his injury history, and everything. So he said he doesn't trust the team. So that we'll see if that lingers. But when he's on the floor, he's a top 10, top 15 player.
Oh yeah, and I mean, look, it was so bad for them last year because of the injuries. They were destroyed. I mean, George, Embiid, the rookie Jared McCain. I mean, even Tyrese Maxey.
Missed games. Yeah.
If those guys are healthy this year, I think the Sixers have a shot at finishing as high as fourth. Now, will everything go right for them? It's hard to say, because you're right to not really feel confident in their health, because Embiid gets hurt a lot. Paul George is like 35 years old now. I mean, I'm not sure exactly, but I mean, he's definitely in his mid-30s. Maxey's a bucket. He's, I expect him to have a good season. McCain injured his thumb like in late September, so he's going to be out for a little bit yet. But he was on his way to being on the all-rookie team last year when he got injured. So there's hope. And I think Nick Nurse is a good coach, and I really like the rookie VJ Edgecombe. I mean, that dude, he's like a laser beam out there. He's so fast and so quick. So he, when that guy's on the court, I mean, you can just feel like, the energy kind of crackling off of that guy. So I think there's hope in Philadelphia. So I hope your people there won't be, in despair or anything, because, just pray to the basketball gods for good health. The basketball gods owe you after last season. That's all I got to say. Right.
And it's just said so many question marks with this team, but if like I said, healthy, it can't get any. I don't think it can get any worse with all the injuries they've had. And you said Nick Nurse. I mean, what else could he have done with the lineup? He didn't even know who was in the lineup, who was not going to be in the lineup. So I mean, and then in that division too, with you said just the conference in itself, as we said, we named about 5, 6 teams. I mean, the Sixers could be a playing team. They said it could be a top 5 team as
Yeah,
well. So I mean, they can get up as top 5, or they could be a 9th, 10th seeded
yeah,
team as well.
right, right.
Yes, so many question marks too. I want to get your thoughts, moving from a team, thoughts on the NBA, the NBA's media rights deal. Now that we're gonna have so much basketball, Amazon, and now back on NBA on NBC, which I'm excited about,
Yeah.
and of course ESPN, ABC. I said Amazon, and now NBC, Peacock. How do you think it was going to impact viewership? And there was, I think it was maybe about a month ago, people were complaining about, I don't know where, so much content or so much basketball. I'm not sure like where I can find it. I'm like, just turn the TV on. You're not going to miss anything. I think that's a good problem to have.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, the biggest change this year is that, between Peacock and Amazon Prime, you're going to see a lot of games that are now, streaming as opposed to being on regular cable. Because, look, streaming is the present and it's the future platform when it comes to not just the NBA, but all sports. I mean, if you want to see everything, you got to pay. And I'm going to get all of it because, plus League Pass, because I'm addicted. So, I mean, that's how I feed my habit. But it's going to be great to see the NBA back on NBC, if only to hear the iconic theme song, the Round Ball Rock, which was basically the soundtrack of the Michael, Larry, and Magic years. So when you hear that song, it just takes me back to a place in time. I mean, to me, the 80s and the early 90s, that was like prime NBA time, when all those guys were playing. Mm-hmm. And it's very exciting. But yeah, it's going to take a little bit of kind of getting used to the rhythm of where things are. I mean, Amazon Prime is going to be on Thursday night and sometimes on Friday and Saturday. Peacock is going to be on Monday night. And Tuesday night, they're going to have like this Coast to Coast Tuesday thing on NBC where they whip around the league, which is similar to a show I did 20 years ago on ESPN2 called NBA Coast to Coast. They even kind of took the same name. The All-Star Game is going to be on NBC. The NBA Finals will be on ABC. The playoffs will be on everyone. And the big thing for me as a former ESPN producer for a million years, Inside the NBA is now going to be on ESPN. And that is something that back in my time when I was there, I worked on the NBA there, from when we got before we got the contract, from the mid 90s to the end of 2017. Inside the NBA was almost considered a little bit risque for Disney because it's like, well, gee, what's Charles going to say tonight? Is he going to say something that's a little bit sort of, sketchy? And it's like, it's like the greatest NBA show ever, and ESPN's finally got it. I just hope that they don't try to turn it into sort of an ESPN thing. Let it be what it already is. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I hope that they're smart enough, and I believe that they are. I do respect my former colleagues there. I think they're going to leave it alone, and it's going to be great. I mean, it'll be great to see that crew back together because we were worried last year when Turner lost the contract. What happens with Inside the NBA? Well, luckily for the basketball fans, it's going to be just like it was before, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. And I know that they, some of the higher ups at ESPN has said they're not going to touch it. And it's kind of like you're right. It's almost like you said, okay, Inside the NBA, if it comes on ESPN, it's going to be risque for ESPN. But it's no different now. Pat McAfee show is on ESPN, and he gets to do whatever. He does whatever and says whatever he wants. So they leave him alone. So why not leave the team, the Inside the NBA crew alone? Let them do what they need to do. And I remember Scott Van Pelt was just saying, he said, hey, those are the guys. Like, don't interfere with what they do. Let them go on. And like Barkley just said, we go on for sometimes after the games 1 or 2 hours. Like we're gonna have to continue to do this. And I hope that they are able to still be able to do 2 hours or at least an hour after the primetime games as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Speaking of the NBA on NBC and Peacock, uh, so many, announcers in the studio show. I mean, so many big names: Mike Tirico and Noah Eagle, and Reggie Miller, Crawford, Jamal Crawford, Brad Doherty, Derek Fisher, Brian Scalabrine, Austin Rivers. Just some of the, and then the studio show with Tracy McGrady, Vince Carter, Carmelo Anthony. I'm interested to see if what role Michael Jordan as a special contributor. Is he going to show up twice like 2 times in the year? I think so. Maybe for NBA Finals and maybe All-Star, or maybe in the beginning of the year. I'm interested to see that. And then you got Maria Taylor, Ahmad Fareed as also as anchors. So they got a pretty loaded team. What do you think of their mix of play-by-play announcers in their studio team?
Well, I'm a big Jamal Crawford fan. I really liked him on Turner last year. I think he's really good. He's got a great personality. He's played for so many different teams and so many
Yes.
different coaches that he has perspective that's, very, very impressive because he was, I mean, I remember we had him on one of our shows back in our Pure Hoops media days, and he was on, and we asked him. Mike Wise was hosting one of the show. Mike was a former New York Times basketball writer, and he and Jamal were good friends. And he asked Jamal, "Can you name all of the coaches that you played for?" And Jamal went down the list off the top of his head, 19 coaches, okay, in order by team by team. I mean, so he's obviously very bright. I mean, he's got a lot of it all right up here. He doesn't need to be, getting like pumped up with a lot of research and stuff because he's kind of seen it all and done it. But I really like it. One of the things that I'm really most excited about with NBA on ESPN is Tim Legler, who's a really good friend of mine, and I've worked with him since the day he showed up at ESPN. He has now been elevated to the #1 broadcast team, along with Mike Breen and with Richard Jefferson.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think it's great because Tim Legler, to me, has always been the best basketball analyst on TV. He makes you a smarter fan. I didn't necessarily like the way they dealt with Doris Burke and that whole thing because a lot of people kind of, bash Doris. I happen to be friendly with Doris. I worked with her. And I felt like it would have been better if they would have taken RJ off because I thought RJ is amazing in the studio. I think he does like NBA Today, whatever. He's great. And I thought, gee, he should be like their main studio analyst. Leave Doris on there with Legs and Breeny. Breeny can work with anybody. I mean, he's just crazy good. So that was my own little nitpick there. But I love Legs. I think a lot of people that, maybe saw him on Sports Center, but didn't really have a real good feel for him, like actually doing a live game, just more sort of like post-game clips and analysis. They are going to love this guy. And, he's got a big Philly connection, too. I mean, he went to LaSalle. He lived in South Jersey for a while. I believe he now lives in Florida. So he's got a Philly connection there. So the folks in Philly, I think, probably know him a little bit better than a lot of the rest of the people around the country. But pretty soon, I mean, people are going to be like, wow, where'd they get this guy? Well, he's been hiding in plain sight for 20 years.
Yes, they've been having him, and he's been doing this for a long time. And like you said, I agree 100%. I think as an analyst, he is, if not the best, one of the best for sure. I've always enjoyed Tim Legler. He kind of reminded me of before Doug Collins, when he was coaching. Doug Collins was really good too.
Oh my God, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, he had that basketball mind and just was so good at breaking down plays and the players and scouting and all that. And Doug Collins was very, very, very good. And Tim Legler is in that same, I think, cut from that same cloth. He's so good. And I didn't really like how they pushed Doris either from the number one team. I still feel like they could have just had a 2-person booth too. It could have been Breen and Legler.
Yeah.
But they, and plus with that team, ever since Mark Jackson and Van Gundy got let go, it's been a revolving door. So it's been, from Doc Rivers, and then he went back to coaching, and JJ Redick, and he went to coaching, and I've always enjoyed Doris. She's another great basketball mind and analyst as well. But as you said, Tim Legler now at the number one spot. Like I said, he was on Sports Center, and he's done Get Up, and he's on First Take, but now he's got the number one spot. And I agree with you with Richard Jefferson. I think Richard Jefferson, he's good, but much better in the studio, and he was very good in the studio. So we'll see how that. Hopefully, they now got the right mix, and it doesn't keep ever changing for that number one team on ESPN and ABC.
Yeah, let us get used to it now.
Yeah.
Let them all settle in and have a couple seasons doing their thing together, because they will only get better with more reps.
With more reps, exactly. Mike Brink said the ultimate professional. He can work with anybody, and I think now he's probably now got his team, and Mark Jackson and Jeff Van Gundy. That was the trio for so many years, and they were so good together. But now, hopefully this is not a more revolving door now, so many changes. But all right, let's get into I got to talk about the Amazon crew. I mean, they got a huge. I love this grouping with Ian Eagle, Kevin Harlan, Michael Grady, Eric Collins. These are the lead play-by-play announcers, and then you got Stan Van Gundy, Brent Barry, Del Curry, Jimmy Jackson, Dwayne Wade, Steve Nash, Candace Parker. And then Cassidy Hubbard, one of my favorites, all-time favorites, Allie Clifton, Christina Pink, and the studio show with Taylor Rooks, another favorite of mine, Blake Griffin, Dirk Nowitzki, Wade Nash, Candace Parker, Udonis Haslam, John Wall. The list goes on. Twin Cast. This list goes on and on. You got Hall of Famers, you got Hall of Fame broadcasters. You got a lot of good. This Amazon crew is going to be. This actually might be the better crew, I think. What do you think of the Amazon Prime Prime crew?
A number of those people you mentioned. I mean, Cassidy Hubbard is somebody that is a dear friend. I worked with her. I was actually the person that got her onto the NBA at ESPN, because when I was a coordinating producer for NBA Tonight and NBA Coast to Coast, I was, I wanted her because she was working on ESPN News, which doesn't even really exist anymore, except as a channel where they put replays of other things on. And I saw her doing these afternoon shows, and nobody was watching them. But I thought, my God, this woman is so talented. She's so warm. She's so, you watch her on the screen and you feel like this immediate friendship with her. And that's exactly how she is. She's that type of person. And actually, I worked with Swin Cash for a season back right when she, she was actually still an active WNBA player at the time. This was probably around 2007, 2008. And she's like a super impressive individual. I mean, Hall of Famer, executive, great player, good broadcaster. She'll be better. And the woman who's kind of behind all of those hirings at Amazon is a lady by the name of Amina Hussein. And Amina was my colleague at ESPN. She used to be the coordinating producer for the NBA pregame show out of LA. And we're really, really good friends. And she has done an amazing job putting that crew together. And Amina herself is, she's somebody, if you could ever get Amina to come on your show, she can talk hoop with the best of them too. She's she used to be a producer. She's a big Golden State Warriors fan. I want to try and get her on my podcast too, but she's so darn busy these days. It's hard to even, get her, kind of corner her long enough to say, hey, can you do it? Can you do it? But I'll keep trying, because she is just like a super cool lady. And the crew, I agree with you, Courtney. I think some of the people that they have on that Amazon crew, I mean, Kevin Harlan is great. I mean, he's so exciting. I mean, he's one of those guys that can inject energy into the most kind of generic game. But he has this big time feel about him, kind of like Breeny does a little bit, kind of like Marv Albert used to do.
Oh yeah.
So that crew is great, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what they have going on. I watched a little bit of them the other night. They had a Milwaukee game on against I think it was against OKC, and it was good. I mean, Noah Eagle was on there doing his thing, and that Eric Collins guy you mentioned, he used to do the Charlotte Hornets games. That dude, people are going to love that guy. I mean, he was like a league pass favorite. When you'd watch a Hornets game, which not too many of their games were worth watching, unfortunately. But he was sort of a reason to watch them.
Yes, yes. I'm looking forward to, and the production should be. I mean, if they're what the NFL has done with Amazon, I mean, the production and everything should be top notch. And you said they got so many good personalities and broadcasters. It's I think both of them will be great. And it's just they said the more the NBA, the better. The more we have more options. It'd be like you said, League Pass, NBA TV. I don't want to see what's going to happen with NBA TV. Not sure what that contract looks like, but you have, instead of just League Pass and ESPN, and now you have Amazon Prime and NBC Peacock. So yeah, the more the merrier with NBA coverage for sure.
Legler's actually going to be doing a show on NBA TV called Coach's Corner. Where
They just announced that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like one-on-one conversations between Legs and head coaches from around the league. That will be great. I mean, that will be a really good thing to watch because he knows all the right questions. And he's kind of a coach in many ways himself. He coached some AAU teams and stuff. And I think, he was being considered for some college jobs, but I'm glad he's staying in the NBA world. I think, he's got a lot to offer us all as viewers.
Yeah, for sure. I think he just had Doc Rivers on the first show. I did see the headline of that, so I got to definitely listen to that. Like I said, I enjoy Legler for sure. And JJ Redick his podcast was really good too when he did his podcast, especially with LeBron. Yeah, they those two, and then that's. That there's rumors that's how he got the coaching job, but we'll just leave it at there. So and everything. Speaking of LeBron, we haven't even brought him up. I mean, we talk about some of the veterans now that are, the all-time greats, heading to probably their last few seasons. LeBron, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant. We talked about these are like the last, of that group. Especially, but now LeBron's dealing with sciatica. That's who knows? This could be the last year for LeBron. And the Lakers with Luka now leading the way. I know that was like that's why the Lakers got Luka, basically gift wrapped it to them as well. So now now with LeBron, he's got to ratchet it up. Who knows how long he's going to be out? 10 games, 12 games, could be longer. As well, and then Curry and the Warriors, do they have one more run in them? And then you said Durant's on Houston. What do you think of those the three now in the twilight of their careers, and how do you think those kind of talk about Houston? How do you think the Warriors and the Lakers will do? Could this be their last year or two with their runs with these all Hall of Fame future Hall of Famers?
Well, LeBron is simply remarkable. He's going to start his 23rd season. Even last season, I mean, his game really hasn't dropped off very much. I mean, look, where you'd see him, maybe showing his age a little bit is on defense because, that's hard. I mean, defense is hard. He still had, most of his offensive skills. I'm not so sure how he's going to handle kind of handing the reins of the team over to Luka. I don't know. I mean, look, I love LeBron. I'm one of the few people who would say, I think when his career's all said and done, he will go down as the greatest all-time player of them all for a number of reasons. So I have the highest respect for him. But look, like you said, Father Time, I mean, he's 40. He's going to be 41 years old, before the calendar flips over to next year. 23 years in the league. I mean, how many guys are in the league that weren't even born when he started his career? I mean, lots of them. Yeah. So there's that. As for Curry, so I'm not super high on the Lakers. I think, they're probably going to win like 47, 48 games, which is good, but because he's going to really need, if he wants to be, effective in the postseason, he's going to have to take some nights off. He's going to have to, rest up a little bit. I think when you get to that age, do you really want this guy playing back-to-back games? I mean, that's really helped Al Horford extend his career because he hasn't been playing back-to-backs for a couple of years. Now he's going to join Steph Curry on Golden State. He's actually older than Steph Curry by a year. Okay. So with LeBron, take don't play the back-to-backs. It doesn't mean you play the first one and not the second one. Maybe you look at those two games and say, all right, I'm going to miss the first one because the second one is a more of a challenge, whatever. Steph Curry, remarkable too. Very contingent how Warriors do. They've got an aging team. I mean, Steph's going to be 38. Draymond and Jimmy Butler are both going to be 36. Horford's 39. But again, Steve Kerr is smart enough, I think, as a coach to sort of budget their games, budget their minutes, because it doesn't really matter where they finish in the standings if they can make it into the top 6, whatever, so they don't have to go through that play-in thing. So whether they finish 3rd or 4th or 5th or 6th, just hit April with good health,
Yes.
Durant, I see Durant as, for some reason, not seeming as old as those guys, even though he's almost as old as those guys, because for some reason, I mean, maybe it's because of his body or the way he's built or the way he plays. I think Kevin Durant is probably going to average his fewest points since probably his 2nd or 3rd year in the league. But that said, it's not because I don't think he's still good enough. I think he understands that on that Houston team, he's joining a team that's pretty stacked. All right. You got Alpi Şengün, their center, really good. Thompson, all these other guys on the team, young dudes. So I think he understands that he's going to be there at crunch time for them. He's going to take the big shots. But as far as letting the other guys on that team eat, I think he's smart enough to know those guys got to eat, because he can't just get every important shot. He needs to be able to have those guys carry their weight too. And then when it's closing time late in the game, last 4 or 5 minutes of the game, he's going to be getting the ball and he's going to get buckets. So yeah. I think he understands at this point, like, he's done everything you can do in his career. He's an all-time great. He's an all-time, top 10, 12 player in the NBA, probably. Yeah. So I think he understands it's about winning now for him. And it's not about how many more points does he need to score. I mean, he doesn't. He wants to win.
Yeah, he wants to win. He's on a winning team, and I think the last couple seasons for Durant on Phoenix. I think fans have forgot how good Kevin Durant is, because he was just on a bad team, especially last season. That mix just didn't fit. It just didn't work with Booker and Beal and Durant. So, but now he's on a team with Udoka, who's coached him before and knows how to use him. And Durant can fit, just like you said, he's accomplished everything. He can fit anywhere in any way. And I think they're not going to put so much on him because they have such young talent as well. So Houston's going to be a big contender. And you talk about, you said, LeBron, nothing else to prove. Just one of those, he's at father time, and just got to keep LeBron up right into the playoffs and see what happens from there. He's just, like I said, he's got to give it the reins fully and let Luka Doncic play MVP basketball. And Luka's now in the best shape of his career, and looking like slim Luka right now. So that's why the Lakers got him, because of this, because they said LeBron can't play forever, and just adding LeBron, bringing LeBron in. Let Luka be that guy that led Dallas to the finals a couple seasons ago, and he can definitely. I don't think they have the team around him enough, but we'll see what happens with the Lakers. With the Warriors, I always got something. I love Steph Curry, one of my favorite all-time players, and I always say, they got one more run? Do they got one more run? I'm not for sure. There's a lot of question marks still with that team because of, you said, they're old. Can Steve Kerr get another good run in them? Maybe, but that West, like you said, it at the top is very, very, very loaded and very competitive. You said, with OKC and Denver and Houston and Minnesota, and maybe the Warriors fall into right below them, that 4. But I don't. Yeah, it's hard to say. And they said Curry dealt with injuries at the end of the season as well in the playoffs. So yeah, their time is winding down, but it's good to let's see them at least one more year. We'll see what happens. All right, just got a couple more. So let's stay out west, and we talked about OKC already. Possibly repeating. Who do you think is the biggest threat to OKC out of those top teams? As we said, with Denver and with a lot of depth now that they have around with Joker now, so they could be a huge threat. Minnesota, who went to the conference finals once again back to back, can they get another level? We thought Houston. Any other teams that you think can be a threat for OKC to stop them from repeating?
Well, look, I mean, Houston is not only just, and we all talk about Kevin Durant, and rightfully so. That is a rugged team because at the center position, okay, they've got 3 legit centers on that team. Alpi Şengün, who we talked about, who's an all-star last year. They signed Clint Capella as one of their backup centers, and they have Steven Adams, who probably is the best screen setter in the entire NBA at this point. That guy sets a screen. You're not getting around him. Kevin Durant is going to feast on some of the screens that they have. They also picked up Dorian Finney-Smith. So they have the young core with Thompson and Eason and Smith. As you mentioned, Van Vliet's injured, but, it would be great if he was there. He's not there. I don't think it's going to prevent them from winning, 54, 55 games. Denver had a great offseason, okay?
Yes.
Joker is there. They picked up, Jonas Valanciunas to back him up. And there was some drama there because he was talking about going to play in Europe or whatever. Which I mean, I've always respected Valanciunas because I just think he's a tough-minded, rugged guy. He always had, really good numbers for the amount of minutes that he played. He was very productive. And another guy, I mean, they got rid of Porter and brought in Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson is going to make a huge impact for Denver. That is a really, really good pickup. And again, with Jokic, that guy's like a metronome. He goes like this. Very steady. You can't speed him up. You can't take him out of his rhythm. He's going to play 16, 17 years in this league because the way he plays, he does not put a lot of stress on his body. No. He jumps about an inch off the floor because he's got these hands that are like magnets on him. When he gets anywhere near a rebound or a loose ball near him, he grabs it. He's an incredible passer. He's an incredible rebounder. He can score every way you can score. They got this guy, Christian Brown, who's had a breakout season last year for those guys. He's going to be really good. They have Aaron Gordon, a great glue guy. They got Jamal Murray. They're a really dangerous team, too. I would say Houston and Denver are the 2 biggest threats to Oklahoma City out west. But my number 1 under-the-radar team for the entire league this year, get ready, the San Antonio Spurs. They won 34 games last year, okay? Yes. And that was with Wemby missing the last 30 of them, okay? Yeah. They got a new coach, Mitch Johnson. I believe this, we did our bold prediction show a few weeks ago on 48 Minutes. My bold prediction was, I think if they get to 50 wins, which I think is very possible, I'm predicting if they get to 50 wins that Wemby is going to win MVP this year and Defensive Player of the Year. I think he's almost a lock for Defensive Player of the Year. Yes. I think he's going to win that by just kind of doing what he always says. But if they get to 50, I'm saying that Wemby is going to win the Most Valuable Player award. It's a clip and save. This might not age well, Courtney. Right?
No, it might.
It might not age well. But if it turns out to be true, then I'll probably break my arm patting myself on the back for that one. But watch out for the Spurs. I'm not saying that they're as good as Denver or Houston or OKC, but I think they're gonna probably be up there with the Minnesotas of the world, the Lakers, the Clippers. They're gonna be up in that upper echelon in a very, very competitive West. So that's my under the radar team to watch.
I agree 100% with the San Antonio Spurs, and I know De'Aaron Fox is going to miss the beginning of the season. I think that's a little bit of a blow because they're trying to get their chemistry with. That's why they got him for, with Wembanyama having a guy that can handle the ball. But Stephen Castle, Rookie of the Year. can play. He can play. He can play with Wemby as well. I think with Wemby, if he can stay healthy, for sure. I mean, he's just getting better and better and better. I hope they can use him a little bit better than they did last season because they had him shooting a lot of threes last
Yes.
season, and I want him now. He just said he grew another inch, so put him on the. I mean that's scary, and it's scary how good he can be, and he's going to be. He's a good ball handling passer, as you said, and it's just more. It's now just more room to grow, and hopefully San Antonio can use him because he can do a lot. He can shoot, but get him on the block and with his length and his getting stronger. And he said blocking shots is just natural for him, just because of his skill set. But I think those are the only drawback of okay, hopefully they'll let him, if you want to shoot on the outside, get him on the inside too, because he's unstoppable, and I can see him winning both MVP. He's definitely a dark horse MVP candidate, and defensive player of the year. I totally agree. He can get multiple defensive players of the year. That's how good he is on that end of the floor.
I wish that they would over the summer or at some point bring Kareem Abdul-Jabbar
yes.
to San Antonio to work with him. Because could you imagine if Wemby could ever learn to shoot that hook shot? I mean, he might lead the league in scoring. I mean, look, guys want to shoot threes now. I get that. When Kareem developed that shot, it was basically because they banned him from dunking in college. So he had to develop that shot. But I mean, it's still the most unstoppable shot that we've seen in the NBA. And so if Wemby had interest in that, or if the Spurs wanted to, because Kareem is still, he's still very sharp. He's actually a very talented writer or a commentator on social issues. I mean, he's got it all going on even now in his 70s. So I would love to see him and Wemby work together at some point. I don't know. Maybe that's wishful thinking on my part, Courtney, but because I look at Wemby and I'm thinking, if that guy could shoot a hook shot, nobody could get within 2 feet of blocking.
No. And then you're right. And then so many players have worked with Hakeem Olajuwon as well, from Kobe, from even Giannis. Yeah, they've worked with him, and the footwork and the inside game. And Wemby can definitely get that, and he's even taller than Giannis and Hakeem Olajuwon. So and if he keeps growing, being 7 foot, he's 7'5" now. I mean, goodness, he's going to be very unstoppable. I could see him if he's healthy, and then you said San Antonio wins between 45, 48, 50 games. That could be a really good. That's a real good dark horse pick. So, all right, let's move out to the East, where I think this is the hardest to pick. Who's coming out of here? I think Cleveland and the Knicks could be 1 and 2. Who else do you really feel has a shot? Like I said, I like Detroit and Orlando. Just for Detroit got a taste of the playoffs, got that taste, and now I think they're going to be a little bit better even now. And then Orlando itself too has improved. I can see them, but the East is so wide open. Who knows? Like you said, with your Celtics, what's that going to look like without Tatum and all those other guys we talked about earlier? And what's Milwaukee going to look like? Giannis, is this going to be his last year in Milwaukee? There's questions there. Who do you like? Any teams in the East, under the radar teams in the East?
Well, I believe one of 3 teams will come out of the East. Cleveland, as you mentioned, won 64 games last year. I don't expect them to win 64 this year because they flamed out in the playoffs. They went out pretty early. So New York, who I think is coming on real strong, they're bringing back everybody, and they added some good depth. Although it was weird today, Malcolm Brogdon announced his retirement. I couldn't believe that. They just brought him in a couple of weeks ago. And I thought he was going to be a really nice guy coming off of their bench, but I guess maybe he just, he's always had health issues. He's had trouble staying healthy. And I like Orlando a lot. I mean, look, they addressed their 2 biggest issues in the offseason. Number one, they were a terrible 3-point shooting team last year. So what do? They trade 4 number 1 draft picks to Memphis, and they bring in Desmond Bane, who's a really solid 3-point shooter and a very good perimeter defender as well. Like him a lot. They also brought in Tyus Jones, who's going to play some point guard for them. They also had Jalen Suggs already there. Tyus Jones is like a guy who just never turns the ball over.
Never turns it over.
Ever. I mean, his assist to turnover ratio is like 7 or 8 to 1. It's like one of the all-time best in the NBA.
Yeah.
And then you have Paolo Banchero, you have Wendell Carter Jr., you have Franz Wagner. I mean, they're a loaded team, and they play hard 48 minutes every night. It's like back in the day in college when Arkansas was great, Nolan Richardson was their coach, and they used to say playing Arkansas was 40 minutes of hell.
40 minutes of hell, yep.
Playing Jamal Mosley's Orlando Magic team is 48 minutes of hell.
Yes.
They're going to be really good. I like Detroit a lot, too. I don't think Detroit is quite in that top 3, but they're right there in that next tier. Cade Cunningham is amazing. He really showed out last year. He was like 7th in the MVP voting. I mean, that's pretty good for and they tripled their win total last year. They went from like 14 to like, 45 or something like that. I mean, they were great. JB Bickerstaff did a really nice job with those teams. And then after those 4, I think Atlanta's a team we got to keep our eye on.
Yes.
They had a very good offseason, also bringing in, Porzingis and, they have a good rookie that I really like that out of Arkansas, the big kid out of Arkansas, Asa Newell. I think he's going to do well for them.
Mm-hmm.
So they're a nice team. A lot of people are saying, Milwaukee. I'm not loving Milwaukee, to be honest with you, Courtney. And one of the reasons why is I love Giannis. He's a great, all-time great player. I think he's fantastic. He's a friend of our show. He's been on our show. One of my co-hosts, Ross Geiger, is like really close friends with him. They work together in Milwaukee. But I really don't like him bringing the ball up so much and initiating the offense. To me, they need to take more shots because they were a pretty good shooting team last year, but they didn't shoot it enough. They didn't have enough possessions. And I think with Giannis bringing the ball up, I think to me, it says that they don't have a lot of confidence in their guards, and I don't think their guard play is very good. So to me, I would much rather see Giannis be in front and have guards pushing the ball up court, because Giannis, while he can push the ball up court, he's pushing it up to who? Himself, okay? No. They don't have enough shooting around him. So yes, if he gets the ball in the low post, he's going to be able to score, make moves, and he can pick out some open guys if they're on the perimeter. But I really don't like what they're doing with him bringing the ball up. Let those guards bring the ball up. That's what guards do, okay? Yeah. In addition to shooting. To me, Giannis is going to use up a lot of his energy with useless dribbling the ball up court. And at some point, they're going to start, he's going to have these smaller guys, digging down on him at the ball. I don't know that that's really a recipe for success. So I like Doc Rivers as a coach. I think that's something that they're going to have to really think about if it's not working. And I don't really think it's going to be working. Philly, as we talked about before, Boston and Indiana are kind of in the same boat. They're going to be down this year until they get their guys back. Chicago remains kind of a team that's stuck in that 39, 40, 41 win. They're in that play-in hell. They're going to be there for the foreseeable future. I don't love Miami, although they did add Norman Powell. Charlotte might be on their way up a little bit, but they're not there yet. Toronto, Washington, Brooklyn, that's the dregs in the East. So, they're not, there's nothing happening good there.
Yeah, you bring excellent points, and I love the point with Milwaukee and Giannis bringing the ball up so much, and it becomes predictable too with him. You said, and it's gonna. Giannis is in such great shape. I mean, he's one of the most physical players that we've seen in years. But you're right. But he's broken down too. He's gotten injured. Playing so much heavy minutes and handling the ball so much. You're right. I think, and it becomes predictable because there was a couple years ago, maybe about 3-4 years ago, when it was very predictable when he would bring the ball up from the top of the key. And he's just going straight to the basket, and there's offensive fouls. There's just they're just bridging a wall. I remember, I think it was back in the playoffs when Toronto, actually when they won the championship, they put a wall, and that was a way to guard Giannis. Yep. You build a wall, and then now he's improved so much. he's much better than that before. He knows how to get around and everything too. But if he's the one bringing the ball up all the time, you're right. It's gonna now be so predictable. They're just gonna build a wall. And you said there's not enough shooting. I mean, yes, they got Miles Turner, so that opens up the floor a lot.
Yep.
But you said their guards are losing a Damian Lillard. He wasn't gonna play anyway. But now trading him, it just didn't work out.
Yeah.
But he at least spread the floor.
Yep.
And let now Giannis can operate. Now it's going to be hard for Giannis to get inside the paint where he's the best at it, or that's his best part of his game because he still can't really shoot from the outside as consistent, if not that good. But yeah, it's going to be very predictable. But I agree with you on that part. And just to go back, you said about Atlanta, I really like what they've done too. I think they could be a very good dark horse too. Now that Trae Young has some pieces, if Porzingis can just stay healthy, that pick and roll with him and with those two could be a deadly weapon. And they got Luke Kennard, more shooting as well, and Nick Alexander Walker too from Minnesota. I thought that was a really good pickup. So Atlanta could be a very dangerous team, top 6 or so.
Yeah.
Maybe.
They got some other guys too. I mean, look, Dyson Daniels was awesome for those guys last year. Jalen Johnson is a really nice player. Zachary Risachet, who was a top draft pick, big guy. They have a really nice mix of youth and experience. Luke Kennard, as you mentioned, excellent 3-point shooter. So yeah, I mean, I could see them moving up to number 6. Easily they could maybe even go even a little bit higher. I mean, I have them winning around 48 games this year, and that's a nice step up from the 40 that they won last year.
Yes, that would be a good improvement, real good improvement. And the last one with Detroit, adding veterans like Karis LeVert and Duncan Robinson now with that young team could elevate them even more. So I do like Detroit, but I'm with you. I think they're just under that echelon, but top 4, 5, for sure, sure they'll be improved. So
I agree.
All right, well. So I guess we got OKC winning it again. It looks like repeating as they brought everybody back, and they got the MVP SGA, who's just going to continue to get. I think he's got 3-4 great years, MVP type years, maybe more for sure. And they're so young and they're so deep, and I think they have all the pieces to repeat.
Yeah, they've and look, it's. Their defense is a meat grinder. I mean, I used to say last year when I would watch those guys play, it reminded me of watching a hockey team that was on the power play, 6 against 5, right?
Yeah.
That's what it looked like when Oklahoma City was guarding you. It seemed like there was 6 of them against 5 of you. That's how well they switched. That's how quick they were. That's how great their decisions were. They had, I mean, Shea is an excellent 2-way player. I mean, he's a really underrated defender. And Jalen Williams, they got 2 Jalen Williamses.
Yes.
And Isaiah Hartenstein was a great pickup for them because they really kind of needed a little more rebounding, so they picked him up. They got everything they need, and they're bringing back 99% of the guys who played minutes for them in the playoffs. 99% of their playoff minutes are back. And it's like, and they're still one of the 3 youngest teams in the whole entire league. When the final rosters are settled, they may be the youngest team again. But, you've got, Detroit's going to be right there with them too. And, I got OKC coming out of the West. As far as the East, I'm leaning towards the Knicks because with Cleveland, after what they did last year where they won 64 games and then they just flamed out in the playoffs, they've got to prove it to me now. I mean, I think, look, they've got great interior defense, with the 2 bigs, with, Mobley and Jared Allen. Donovan Mitchell can just go nuclear at any given moment. I mean, he's just an explosive scorer.
Yes.
They have a lot, they probably have the best starting lineup in the East, although New York is kind of right there too. And I really like that Mike Brown is coaching New York now. Mike's a friend. I worked with him at ESPN. We've always remained friendly over the years. And what I like about Mike Brown is that he comes from like just successful programs. He
Yeah.
started out as an assistant in San Antonio, was an assistant in Golden State, coached LeBron in Cleveland. He was coach of the year, coached them to the finals. I mean, Mike Brown, some people misinterpret Mike Brown because he's such a nice, like positive, upbeat, bubbly guy, but he's not a pushover. I mean, I've heard lots of stories about him guys and like letting them know, he did it in Sacramento. He really brought that team. He was coach of the year a couple of years ago. So, and I think the difference between him and Tom Thibodeau and how he's going to run that team, Thibs would run basically the same 7 guys out there pretty much every night.
He trusted those 7. Yep.
Those 7. So he would win. He would want to win every regular season game. Okay. When you're at that level now where they are, you don't need to win every single regular season game. You need to have energy left for the postseason.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was watching some of the games against Indiana, and Josh Hart, who's a tough guy, he'd be like bending over with his hands on his knees late in games because he was just exhausted.
Yeah.
But now bringing in Jordan Clarkson, who I think is probably going to win 6th Man of the Year this year. He's going to be a huge piece for those guys.
Yes,
he's another guy, just a bucket. He'll never, ever, ever pass up an open shot. Ever.
No, not at all.
Ever. But that's okay. That's why you have Jordan Clarkson. You want him taking those shots.
Yes.
Jalen Brunson is tremendous. Karl Anthony Towns. Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby. I mean, that team is loaded. And now with, Clarkson coming off the bench, along with, Miles McBride, who was there, this Gershon Yabusele, who was on Philly last year. I mean, he's still kind of finding himself in that rotation, but he'll be okay. I mean, he's going to be fine for them. So I'm feeling like OKC and the Knicks in the finals is, if you asked me for my prediction right now.
Yeah, I like that. I'm still contemplating on my East. I'm leaning maybe OKC for sure. I think Denver will be giving them a run, and Denver was one of the only teams too. And now they said they got more depth and everything too. So around Jokic, and I think that's all he was asking for. Hasn't had this type of depth since their championship. And we'll see what happens there. But I think OKC, because you said they got everything from top to bottom, and they won 68 games last season, and that was with Chet Holmgren missing half the season.
Yeah.
So could they win another 68 for sure? They got everything they need. But you're right with the Knicks getting with Mike Brown. He wants to run more too and take the ball out of Jalen Brunson's hands a little bit more. Let him play like two guard because before, like you said, Tibbs relied on that. He relied on Jalen Brunson just going ISO sometimes, and that was part of his game. So that'd be an adjustment. But Jalen Brunson he's too good not to adjust to a more running style game. But what Mike Brown wants to do with the Knicks, so they do got expectations for sure. But in the East, it's definitely possible that the Knicks could come out of the East. So we'll see from there. But I think we covered everything. I really believe, we covered a lot, and we
had a lot of stuff here, Courtney. This was good stuff, man.
This is good. This is good.
I just, We'll check in with each other later in the season, along the way. Call me back if you want to have me come on again and talk about some hoops. We're always happy to join you. And I hope that, some of the fans of your show, The Real Deal, will check out 48 Minutes with myself and my partners, Ross Geiger and Michael Worldby Freer. We're there every week. We generally record our new show on Monday night. Usually it drops in the wee hours. We did our over-under show this week. It dropped on Tuesday morning here, or Wednesday morning, where we go through all 30 teams and took the FanDuel over-under numbers. And said, are they going to be over? Are they going to be under? We did that. And on Friday morning, we're going to have a new show that drops where we basically go through our predictions for the individual award winners, the MVP, Coach of the Year, Sixth Man, et cetera, et cetera. So I hope that some of your listeners will also become our listeners, and hopefully our listeners will become your listeners. We're all here on the Believe team trying to do our best to help each other out. So thank you for inviting me. It was a lot of fun, and you really know your stuff, and you always have. And it's fun talking to somebody that really, has so many answers as you do.
Oh, I really do appreciate those kind words. And like you said, the fans of this show as fans of your show. And he said, and we just mix and match. But I really enjoy, like I said, like I told you from the before, I really enjoy talking hoops with you. And he said, I love talking hoops for people that have been around the game for a long time, but not even just that, just knows their stuff. And like I said, we can just bounce off each other. That knows a lot. We really love the NBA, and I look forward to this season. And yes, we'll check on each other, check into the season. And like I said, I'm a big fan of the show, 48 minutes, and I look forward to all the content you got coming up for the remainder of the season as well.
Thank you, Courtney. You are the real deal.
All right, thank you. We went 48 minutes as well, so I appreciate that. All right, thanks a lot, Bruce, and everyone, check out Bruce's show. He said 48 minutes on Believe Network. Check it out on all the podcast platforms as well. So again, thanks again, Bruce, and good luck for the rest of the season. And we'll check in with each other and talk soon.
For sure.
All right, thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of the evening, and have a great weekend. Enjoy the NBA season upcoming next week.